Hey now, good morning, everybody. Appreciate you guys jumping on. Before I say more words, I think somebody's already jumping in there. Oh, talking about the beer. Thanks, Carl. Just want to do a real quick check. You guys hear my audio okay? Can somebody hit me in the question or chat bar? Yes, thank you, Rick, Terry, Heather, Viviano, Valerie out in Florida, B-Mac representing us in the Southeast. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks so much. I know we'll get a ton more homies. Karen, Susan, Mo. Appreciate you guys all jumping on with us this morning. I know it's afternoon / lunchtime for some of you guys, a little bit further on the other side of the map. Cool. Well, good morning, everybody. I think we've kind of got a cool cadence going on, having the fourth installment of our So You're Working Remotely Now session, and I've just been so happy to have such a strong group of folks that have been taking the priority to jump on with us, spending a few minutes of again the morning / later morning as a group. Got some really strong comments, just the ability for us to come together, and of course I'm the guy that's always talking because I don't shy away from a stage, as most of you know. But this interaction's been really cool for me. It's been hopefully really cool for you, and we'll continue doing this today and tomorrow, and we'll see what next week brings us. So as we've had with the other calls earlier this week, John Pollock, Director of IT, is with us. Rose on the facility side is with us. So if there's anything that's outside of my expertise or realm, we can have those guys jump in and participate, answer some questions. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and start off. Let me do a quick screen share. I think like we've done with the start of each of these calls this week, guys, and again, sorry for the repeat for some of you guys that have already read through this in a lot of detail, but I can't stress enough the importance of the work from home checklist. There's so much information and detail and troubleshooting and helpful tips that can really get you guys to be as efficient as possible, really running, as fast as you can, trying to get, loans to that finish line. Today's focus of the work from home checklist, and what I'm going to do is jump down here to making it work. So for some of you guys that are already familiar, Hayden Bennett, who runs product development under Nelson's team in capital markets, has been remote, literally on an island in Las Cruces, New Mexico for, I want to say, the last year. I could be a little bit short on that. And, I had a conversation with him just to, help my mental capacity with this. And I said, hey, can you give me any tips, man? You've been doing this for a while. And the funny thing, and it relates to kind of the message that I sent out just about 30 minutes ago, he told me the two most important things about working effectively and in a happy state of mind from home. Number one is shower in the morning. Number two was work in a space that has a window you can look out, which was kind of an interesting one, but I actually relocated my workstation specifically because of that. Now I can look outside. I've got natural light, beaming in. I can see the outdoors and the trees and greenery, and not greenery if you're in Arizona because everything's rock. But I just thought, it'd be a cool thing to kind of just talk about that, and again, this is stuff that the executive team put together for you guys. And it's just important, right? Fight the feeling of isolation. One of the things off script in terms of the agenda, guys, we do want to point out that there are certain technologies that are free technologies that you don't have to download or request or pay for, which is probably most important, that you can utilize just to have a chat with homies. For those that have iPhones like I do, you can do FaceTime. You Android folks, weirdos, I don't know what that version is, but I'm sure you can do something. Video buzz, your cube mate or the person that you used to share an office wall with, and just say, hey, how you doing? Family good? Everybody safe? Are you staying indoors? That interaction is really, really cool. Terry Lunsford pointed out this morning, miss your faces. Don't miss people's faces, call them. Make sure, they've showered, and give them a buzz. It's pretty cool. Take regular breaks. That's an important one too. You guys can see that there. As a minor PSA on John's team from an IT standpoint, guys, I know when your computer pops up and says, hey, we need to install Windows updates, everybody hits like the no or the snooze button. guys, it's really, really important to make sure that you're restarting your computer daily, whether it's as you shut things down in the evening or as you boot things up in the morning. Taking on those Windows updates is what allows your physical workstation, the machine that you're, angry typing on, to actually run at its optimal speed. So regardless of what your connectivity is, your network speed, if you're not rebooting your computer on a daily, you're only slowing yourself down. So do that maybe at lunchtime today if you haven't over the last handful of days. The other one that I want to point out, and this is really on the Encompass side, guys. Again, this is a reality conversation that we're going to have. Encompass is stressed as well, just like CenturyLink and Cox and all the different internet service providers. So those that are kind of commonly used to running multiple instances, meaning you have more than one of these open, thinking, oh, I can work in Smith and Jones at the same time, and it would be so much faster. It's actually the opposite. Running multiple instances takes so much of the bandwidth because Encompass is heavy. It's a thick client that's installed on the machine. So I know those are a lot of technology words, but guys, you're going to do yourself a favor by just having one Encompass open, working in one file at a time. That's going to allow just your simple navigation, accessing the itemization, disclosure tracking, all the things that kind of take a little bit to generate. If you have one Encompass open, you're doing yourself a favor. So again, just a few things there wanted to point out. Let's see. Oh, thanks for the tip. For Android, it is called Hangout. Thank you for that, Carl. Another note, thanks Maggie for jumping in. Kelsey posted a list of desk exercises to the community in Paylocity. So just kind of keeping in the same tune of kind of being effective and trying to still be active and healthy and all that fun stuff. So I know that doesn't necessarily have to do with loans and pushing buttons to get your jobs done, but it's still part of the overall process of what we're all experiencing here. So it's just very important. Make sure you're having these interactions and connections. So with that said, we're going to jump right into the agenda here, guys. One of the things that I wanted to point out first, and it's really easy and very quick, but I think it's still somewhat little known, is called the doorbell. Brought to you actually by Tammy Bolt and her team out in St. Pete, Florida. So thank you. They came to training. They sat in our new hire and said, hey, at our last place, we had this thing that did this thing. Any chance we could do that here? And about a week later, we had that thing. So essentially, this is the get out of my file tool, right? So we've all experienced this, whether it's, the LO stuck in the file or the processor's in the loan and maybe got, tugged away, or the underwriter went to lunch, whatever the situation is, the doorbell really allows you to notify somebody that I need to get into that file probably in a more urgent timing than you're in it right now. So what you see here, guys, I'm on the Encompass pipeline. Again, with my mouse, I'm doing a right click, okay? The right click's gonna open up this menu that you guys see. The very last option is called Ring Doorbell. Now, what you're gonna see here, guys, it's going to basically ding, and not kidding, if you have your sound on your computer, it quite literally dings. It's basically saying that you sent a request to this file to this particular person. And you'll notice in this case, Maggie's in the file. Now, beautiful, right? So Maggie got that notification and was able to say, oh, shoot, yeah, I don't need to be in the Smith file anymore. All yours, I've exited the loan. So you as the dinger get notified by the dingee, sorry to call you the dingee, Maggie, that was unintentional, that person has exited the transaction, and you have the ability basically to say, okay, meaning thanks, or open loan. So again, it's just a really quick, easy opportunity. A lot of those, whether you're at corporate or a big branch like Tampa, it's pretty easy to go over and say, hey, Alvaro, can you jump out of the Jones file for me? I want to go in and upload some conditions. You don't necessarily have that liberty, right? So in this case, you can ding somebody no matter where they're working, where they're sitting. It'll let you know that, hey, I really got to get into that loan. And then as you guys saw, I just very quickly got in, and now I'm able to, do whatever it is I want to do with the transaction. So I'm going to show that maybe one more time, just for those that are multitasking me. Now I know Maggie's no longer in the loan, so I'm just going to show the front end piece of this. Basically, find the loan from your pipeline, do a right click whoopsie. Whoopsie is a technical term. And then go ahead and ding, ring the doorbell. That's going to notify the other person that I've got to get into that loan. So again, really easy, but a nice tip just to make sure that we get into things here a little bit. So go ahead with any questions and comments while I set up our next part of the conversation. It'll just take me a quick second here, guys. Well, maybe not a quick second, but we're all enjoying Encompass. One of the other pieces that I wanted to talk about was dates. After maybe it was our Monday or Tuesday conversation, we asked for suggestions on one of the recently implemented enhancements about important dates. And we got some, which is awesome. So I'm literally going into a random loan here, guys. And while that's thinking, I think I got a question. Carl, you are being a funny man today. All right, so while that's thinking, I'll kind of preface the conversation. What you're going to see in the new loan banner, come on, Encompass, don't make me drive to California, is the new HD loan banner. So basically what we added was a bunch of those hyperlinks. Again, sorry for the little bit of a delay here. All right, there we go. So we added all of these hyperlinks in the upper right-hand corner that basically allow you to do quick navigation and or pop-outs to critical and the most utilized components of the individual loan file. So the important dates pop out. As you probably saw, we added recently the LE, CD tracking, compliance, e-consent, milestone tracking. One of the components, and oh, you know it's in test. Dang it, boo-boo on me. What you'll see in this pane this afternoon when we go ahead and release it, we've added all of the appraisal related dates. So was the appraisal ordered? What is the status? What was the return date? So instead of having to go into services and you know, continuing to click yes, 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 did I get it, did I get it? The important dates continues to evolve. We've got a couple other suggestions that we're trying to figure out in terms of document expirations, things like, you know, your credit report expires, you know, June 1st, whatever that date is. So again, once this goes into production, we've got more dates here, but knowing that not everybody is made every day, just want to make sure that we're clear in terms of this addition. The important dates is a really cool, strong tool. A lot of this stuff that you see in the top, generally you'd have to go to disclosure tracking. Disclosure tracking is known to be one of the more sluggish areas. So if you're interested in finding information and dates, you can find it here. If you're interested in getting more dates or more timelines added, make sure you put those in mortgagasupport@homeownersfg.com, and we'll definitely do our best to move those along. Let's see, we got a comment. So a couple things super helpful for completing LSU. So for those in Arizona that have the required loan status update document, great comment from Michelle Byer. Thank you for that. As just a real quick repeat for anyone that got pulled away, upper right-hand corner, all of these super awesome things that my mouse is moving around, HFG important dates. Just take a second to pop it out. And then just as a reminder, guys, these floating windows, and we call them that on purpose because I can take them and I can float them to another monitor. So I moved it over to my left side, and now I'm moving it over to my right side. So with these pop-outs, remember, you continue to have full navigation, right? So that's the beauty of the enhancement we put in this week. Kudos to the Encompass dev team. Yeah, it's just awesome, right? I mean, what other word can I use but awesome? Comment, thank you, Terry Lunsford, underwriting manager extraordinaire. Love all the new pop-outs. They are great helps to those of us still new to this system. So appreciate that comment. And I'm reading testimonials, guys, because I'm obviously the guy communicating the change. So, you know, of course I think it's great, but it's always good to hear it from, you know, senior leaders like Terry. So good stuff. All right, let's go ahead and make the next change to our next area. I'm going to do a little bit of a transition here, guys. and talk about a really important aspect of what we've actually been able to offer for a pretty decent amount of time now. Like, I say decent, that's maybe 2 years, which is day one certainty. And for whatever reason, there we go. So day one certainty, guys, I know this is going to be a little bit of a repeat for those that are already using this. Probably our underwriters are very well rehearsed and can explain it better. Day one certainty was introduced by Fannie. It's similar situation for Freddie. It's just called something different. Basically, what it allows us as lenders to do is to make the process of obtaining mortgage financing much more efficient, both on the client, consumer side, and on the lender side, which is each and every one of you. So we'll kind of talk a little bit about this. You'll hear it referenced as D1C. Guess what? Because day one certainty. Duh. We'll crumble that up and get to the next slide. So again, the benefits, I'm not going to read slides. That's like the most boring way of having a conversation to a large audience. Essentially, the benefits of the validation services is that it reduces your borrower's need to potentially give us pay stubs, bank statements, employment verification, and in a lot of cases, even more now, the ability to waive an appraisal. So I'm going to let that sink in and make sure those that are unfamiliar with day one certainty are hearing me very well. When you utilize these validation services that we have in place that everybody on this call has access to already, you don't have to get stuff from your borrower. Like, why would we not want to do that 100% of the time? So I won't get into all of the technology behind it. What I want to do is just really talk through a couple of the aspects in terms of how it's particularly done. There's a little birdie. So 6 easy steps. Again, not going to read them, guys. You do need consent, right? So whether you're using the work number, that's our provider for income and employment verification, or you're using the account check platform, which is the ability to verify assets, it does require individual consent. So you may have to get a borrower's authorization in order to run the work number. The borrower's auth does need to be uploaded with the actual request for the validation services. But what would I rather do? Send my a borrower's auth via DocuSign and have them return that, or say, hey, borrower, I need you to go through, all of your financial documents and give me your most recent pay stubs. Hey, can you find me your tax returns for the last 2 years that are in a folder in your garage in a file cabinet and you don't even know where it is, right? It's on the bottom of all the toilet paper that you're hoarding. If I can use that joke, somebody tell me too soon. Essentially what that goes through, we obtain the consent, then we run the verifications, which require no additional borrower interaction. Assuming we're able to obtain those verifications, for one, keep in mind the work number is about 65% of all employers nationwide. So it's not 100%, but it is the largest in terms of the ability to verify employment and income. Account check on the asset side verifies just shy of 95% of all financial institutions nationwide. So it's a really strong opportunity here, guys. Essentially, once those verifications are received, which it's all done in Encompass, say that clearly, we actually take reference numbers that are part of these verification documents. They are passed into your DU and LP findings. DU and LP recognize those verification IDs, which validates income, assets, and/or employment, and then basically comes back and says, hey, thanks, that was easy. You don't need to get anything else from your borrower. Now, again, I'm saying that for simplicity's sake. Are there going to be other conditions? Of course. But in terms of those areas, if they meet the needs and they qualify the borrower, you're done. You don't have to say, hey, can you email me all of this stuff? Can you fax it to me? Can you, send it via snail mail? Because nobody wants to, meet face to face, which, personal opinion, nobody should be meeting face to face. So a couple questions here. This can be done at multiple points along the transaction. A great question. I appreciate you leading me down this path, right? So for one, this is actually embedded into our online application. Now I say embedded because it's not required. We have an opportunity for borrowers to say, yes, I would like to do this through an electronic verification method. They don't have to. They can decline, which is fine. If they don't do it through the online application process, either the sales side of the fence or generally it should be done at the next point in processing if available. It can be requested again, just basically through a service request in Encompass. And I'm going to show you guys that here in a second. So you have multiple intervals. If the borrower is just uncomfortable at the beginning, but you're able to pick up the phone after the app and say, you know what, I just really want to make this a really simple process for you. I don't want you to have to give me more stuff or send it to me or locate it. Can I send you a request today to facilitate this? So again, we're going to see that here shortly. Now, talking through just a few other areas, we'll fly away to the TIW. So I don't want to go down the path of talking about appraisals right now. I know that's a much bigger conversation. Please note both Cindy Baird and Roxy Breaker's recent communications about appraisals and what's available and transaction types. The comment here is to know that we as an organization allow property inspection waivers. So another big reason why you always want to read your findings. Now more than ever, you should be hopefully digging into those findings and looking for any opportunity on a reduced appraisal requirement. So I'm going to kind of leave it at that, guys, but keeping in mind appraisal waivers are available on both purchases and refis. We allow it when DU comes back and says it, we do it. So really good stuff. Kind of talking through, we'll break the glass here, guys. Again, I won't go down appraisal land right now, but there are other opportunities based on if an appraisal is required and the particular score that you see there in the second bullet point meets a certain criteria. It actually allows our underwriters to not have to do the normal in-depth review of the appraisal, which we know takes time and energy and all that good stuff. So this is really more of a static demonstration here of the platform, guys. Getting a couple comments, so let me pause here. Michelle says, I received CIW 75% LTV condo purchase. So I appreciate that one. Just looking at a couple of the other questions. Yeah, on the sales side, is there a deck or more or less a job aid on this? Yes, we'll definitely get that pushed out. So appreciate the question, Nick. Hope you and family are safe in Minnesota. Cool, guys. So I'm going to get out of this presentation because, you know, who loves PowerPoints? No one. We're going to jump back into our Encompass land. Wanted to talk about it. Again, the online application piece, I won't show today because that's, again, in reality, it's been in place for like a year. In terms of post-online app, or if you're doing a traditional telephone, or maybe you're taking an app via FaceTime, right? And you're literally keystroking in, or maybe the file got into processing and the loan officer wasn't able to take advantage of utilizing the services at app, right? So under your services, you have a couple different areas. So order additional services. Someone's going to tell me I went to the wrong spot because I did. It's order verifications, isn't it, Maggie? Thank you. I knew you were there for me. So here is both the work number and the account check functions. Keep in mind, this is a real live transaction, so obviously I'm not going to facilitate the entire run. I just want to make sure and highlight and talk about where these functions are. Again, I went to services, I went to verifications. We'll talk about account check in a little deeper in a second. The work number, again, is on the income and employment side. Really important to make sure, guys, the employer name has got to actually be 100% precise. So just be careful with that. If they, you know, say they work at, you know, John Deere, but maybe it's John Deere, you know, comma LLC. I'm just making that up, guys. The comma LLC is an ability to get a better verification tool that is definitely more accurate and really increases your ability to get the verification and again, the whole point of this is not to have to get stuff from your client. Again, both in the origination and processing worlds. As a repeat, and again, thanks, Maggie, we do need to have a signed borrower's off in order to run that particular service. Again, it's part of the upload. So I'm going to click submit, which is not going to actually submit. It's just going to open up the ordering window. All right, there's your awkward pause. I did get a quick comment that the audio was lost. I don't know if that's on an individual's end, but let me know. Hopefully it's not. Wendy, thank you for that comment. It also runs off a social security number. It has to be accurate. So don't fat finger, don't do a typo, don't transpose numbers. Make sure that you've got the borrower's accurate social, that you've confirmed it. Or you're just going to have to go back to them, right? The other piece that I want to talk about here, and I know Wendy's on and probably knows this better than I do, salary key is actually provided by your borrower and the employer. So in some cases, if a salary key is required by your borrower's employer, it has to be provided by your borrower's employer. So you may have to request that. But again, just talking about some of these nuances, guys, it's really important just to recognize what you do have access to. I think part of the point of talking through Day One Certainty today, even though it's, again, it's been live for like 2 years with us, we've never been in a forced situation to push us down this path. And I think what the takeaway is here with this, based on what we're all experiencing right now, is I'm gonna adopt these things. And then once we get back to this normalcy, then the adoption is done and it just becomes part of how I operate. All right, it's part of my communication to my borrowers, whether it's at app or in the processing stage with the needs list. I think that's the really strong quality. So if you kind of go down this path today, it's only going to make you more efficient, you know, as we continue through the remaining part of the year. So a couple other comments. Thank you, I appreciate that, Wendy. Borrowers can log into the Work Number and get a salary key. So there you go. Ellie jumped in from our amazing condo solar team. Condo underwriting follows AUS findings regarding appraisal waivers. So appreciate, again, I love the testimonials. It just makes my job that much easier trying to get this information pushed out. Cool stuff, guys. All right, so let me talk about the other half of D1C. Get used to that reference, which is the account check platform. Okay, so I'm just going over to my Encompass job aids. We do have job aids listed in Homepedia. They're underneath the training, I guess, library. How to verify assets, and it shows both the borrower side. So going back to Nicholas Schulte, your comment, if you want to see what the borrower sees, there's a job aid here for that. You want to see how the lender, you as the requester and submitter in Encompass, actually facilitates a request. I'll go ahead and just pull that up real quick. So again, this is just static. As you saw, verifications. Again, I'm just going to do this real quick here, guys. What I want to point out on the asset side, guys, is your borrowers can opt to provide us access to the individual institutions and even the individual accounts in which they want to give us verification of. So let me just real quick explain that. Your borrower has 4 accounts with Wells Fargo. The cash to close is coming from account number 3. You can advise, or your borrower can opt on their end, to only give us access to account number 3 at Wells Fargo. So I know from my underwriting friends on the call, there's a concept of less is more. Give us what we need. I don't need more than that. So again, just kind of stripping off any of the fear quality or fear factor of it. This is a strong tool and should really be utilized. There's a lot of folks that I think are on this call that are already heavy users and they just implement it as part of their book of business. All right, we are at 9:29 local time, guys. Today's call may be a couple minutes over. Those that can hang. If you can't, can't, I totally get that. It's been my intent to try and get in and out, as a lot of you guys have heard. So one of the other areas I just wanted to talk about, and I'll just spend a few minutes on, guys. We're all managing our pipelines differently, right? We may not be able to print out our Excel sheet that has, you know, the 30 deals that I'm currently working on. So just want to do a real quick highlight of the reports component in Encompass, and just point out that the reports function shouldn't be scary. Let's be clear, should not be scary, because a lot of what's out there and available is already in existence and works properly today. So when you think of your reports, it's not like, oh, I got to build something and figure out Excel and all these formulas. We've done all of that. So what you'll see here when you go to reports, right? So there's two options. We're going to start in public, and we've really defined them based on department and role. So I'm just going to start in sales for fun. As you click into these folders, what you'll see is just a lot of static things. And I'm going to scroll down to one of my favorites, guys, and this is, maybe it's my favorite because I created it, wink, wink. The working pipeline report is one that's really, really, really strong. You may be seeing this for the first time, guys, so I'm sorry if it's weird on the eyes. What you're going to see here is basically all of the important trigger points and dates associated to your current non-funded pipeline. Okay, so like name, loan type, purpose, subject property, loan amount, lock expiration, disclosure history, CD histories, milestone logging. I'm not going to pull the report because I have access to every loan in the system. It'll just take us the next hour. But in order to get to these reports, you basically highlight, like I did over here, bottom left-hand corner, and then hit generate. And what's going to happen, the system's going to think, it's going to say beep, bop, boop. And then a few seconds later, you're going to get an Excel spreadsheet that pops up on your computer. Once it's in Excel, then you can do whatever you want with it, right? You can color code it. You can say, hey, yellow is things I'm working on. Green is things that I've asked the loan officer or processor to work on. Or, you know, again, just depending on what your role is and you know, what you're touching in terms of your loan access and your responsibilities. There's a lot of really good stuff here, guys. One of the things I want to point out, and I'm going to do this one, just calling it settlement report. And again, this is just for fun. I want to be very clear, guys, when you're in the public reports, which is what you saw, that is quite literally public. Everyone in HFG public is accessing those same reports. So if you want to take one that's here and maybe add a field or customize it for those that you know how to do that stuff, what you can do is right click, copy. Then when I go to my personal reports, those are personal. These are just mine. So again, a right click and a paste. Now instead of filtering through that whole big stack of like 55 different reports, I've grabbed the one that I like, the one that I want, I've moved it into my location, and now nobody can touch these. So if I want to go into that thing, and again, I'm going to do this very quickly and add a field. You guys know Paper Plus, search for a field ID, or you can type in a name. Right? So again, I'm doing this very quickly just for sake of everybody's time. Just go with me on this. This is the field I want. I just basically click OK. OK again, and now it's done. Now, like most things, save. But now I've pulled a report that was 99% there. I've added the one thing that I want, and now it's mine. So when I need to access reports, I just basically click on the primary reports, personal, and only the ones I care about are there. I got a couple comments that it's okay to go a few minutes late, so I appreciate you guys hanging with me on that. I'm looking at my agenda, all the Ds. C is for cookie. There you go, another Sesame Street reference for those still paying attention to me. So last thing here, guys, and I'm going to be 3 minutes, so hang with me. This is a revisit from earlier in the week, but again, knowing that not everybody can attend every day, all of you guys have access to DocuSign. DocuSign, just as a platform, gives you two opportunities. You can either A, send a document out for signature to a client, right, a consumer, one of your borrowers. You can also use it to sign yourself as the person who needs to sign. So again, going to revisit this very, very quickly. DocuSign is so simple. I know Linda out in Central Florida this morning said she signed her own document for the first time this morning, and it was so, so easy. So again, another testimonial, guys. Hopefully technology will be nice to me this morning. Oh, come on, bro. All right, I may, oh, okay. Sign or get signatures, guys. So click on new. Do you need to send it externally or to your processor for a processor search? Or do you just need to sign something on your own and get it quickly uploaded to the e-folder? So that's really the one that I want to show, if I can do that very quickly. And upload, grab the thing that you need to sign. I'll just pick this one for fun. You can upload multiple documents. So if I need to sign like a 1008 and a 1003, you can upload each of them. And when you launch the signing experience, I'll show you real quick. It's going to basically produce the document, which does not have to be a PDF, even though that's what I chose. It could be a Word doc, you know, a lot of other file formats. So on the right hand, sorry, that's left. My dyslexia is kicking in, are your fields. So this basically gives you the ability to add tags. So pretend that I need to sign something down here. So I basically click on signature, and I've now placed a legal electronic signature on it. If it needs to be dated, it's now dated. If it needs to be initialed, it's now initialed. If you needed to add text, this is how I came to this conclusion. I got a joke with the beep bop boop, so I'll say that again. Once you've done your tags, again, you see others with name if you need something more than just that. Again, I'm just doing this off the cuff, and then finish. And if you do need to send it to somebody, you can do that, or you can just say, no thanks, I'm done. How polite of DocuSign, right? Once the finish is done, it'll think for a minute. It's placing all the compliance certificates into the DocuSign, what's technically called an envelope. And then at completion, you'll see that it's done there. And if it will get to me, you're also going to almost instantaneously pop that over, get it emailed to you. So again, if you need to get this thing that you just signed into Encompass, now I'm doing, you know, your save as to your desktop, and you're going into the e-folder. So for sake of time, I won't show those steps. I think everybody knows how to take an attachment to get it into the e-folder. The DocuSign piece, it's maybe a little bit new to some folks. So I'm going to do just a real quick 20-second check of my question box. Hang with me, folks. All right. I think we've hit them all, guys. Again, apologies for going over by a handful of minutes, but you guys were telling me it was valuable, so I kept going with it. Sessions recorded along with the others. I'll get this one out tomorrow morning along with our Friday version of what we're going to be talking about. So at this point, guys, I really, really appreciate everybody's time and energy. I'll let everybody get back to work. Have a great Thursday, great week, great month, and I'm sure we'll all be in touch. Thanks, everybody.